Welcome, friend, to Life and Liberty Radio. I'm David Householder, here to encourage your pursuit of happiness. You and I are partners, exploring our shared spiritual journeys. Together, we're dreaming and working for a free society. Tell others today about our adventure in faith and freedom. So breathe in, open your mind, lift up your spirit. Let's get started. It's time for us to declare war on low information voting. We talk about one person, one man, one vote. And the truth is, some people are much more informed than others. We talk about low information voters and high information voters. You're certainly a high information voter, or you wouldn't be listening to these kinds of podcasts because they're not that entertaining. They're not sound bites. We actually go after the issues in a long-form journalism kind of method. We spent 7 podcasts on the State of the Union. You say, oh, that's boring. I'd rather just get a soundbite and a feeling. And that's the way most people vote. Politicians know that to get elected, you get real negative about your opponent, and you throw out a few key soundbites. If those soundbites grab people, like Where's the Beef with Walter Mondale, which worked so well against Gary Hart, then you're going to win the election. So it's electioneering. And elections are won not with high information voters, but with low information voters. I think of the Lincoln-Douglas debates and the massive amount of information and wisdom that went back and forth during those things. And people, of course, wouldn't stand for that now. They'd rather watch Desperate Housewives or the next March Madness Final Four basketball tournament or something like that. People want to be entertained. And they also, according to a new book out, The Myth of the Rational Voter. That's The Myth of the Rational Voter. I'm going to put a link on the website by Brian Kaplan. Talks about the fact that there is what we call rational ignorance. In other words, you know that your vote isn't going to make that big of a difference, and that's true. It's just one vote among many. And it's irrational to put hours and hours of work into it. But it takes hours of work to be a high information voter. Actually, to look at our economic system and ask the question, is this good for the economy or bad for the economy? And since people don't want to do the work for that because it's rational not to, they don't. So they rely on friends and what other people think and maybe a few things that come to them passively. They rarely study for things. So what we need to do is turn this around. We need to create a society of high information voters. Or we need to change the way we choose leaders because we can't operate as a country with everyone voting when some people don't even know what country they're in. You go into some voting lines and you ask the most basic questions like, how many houses are there in our Congress? Is there, House of Representatives and Senate? And if people don't know that, they shouldn't be voting. Seriously, they really shouldn't. What's the state capital in Sacramento? Sacramento here in California, if they don't know that, they shouldn't be voting. I think people should pass a basic civics test to be able to get in, and a basic economics test. I really do. I think that we could certainly come up with a bias-free test of some kind, that people have no idea that we live in North America. Perhaps they shouldn't be choosing our next leaders. And to have that person's vote count as much as another person's vote makes absolutely no sense to me. And the truth is, there's a systematic bias, and that's in the book, The Myth of the Rational Voter, toward bigger government, policies that grow bigger government, because that's what we call populism. We have people say, we've got to protect ourselves from those Chinese, and we've got to set up tariffs, and we're going to charge duty on the stuff that comes in. Great. People don't realize that duties and tariffs have always hurt the economy, and all it does is add more money to the government and makes you pay more. It's another tax. It's all it is. And people just don't get basic things. Or the government can create jobs, which, of course, the government doesn't create jobs. Or that we need to provide infrastructure, education, housing, none of which is mentioned in the Constitution. That's not the job of the government. The job of the government is to keep us from aggressing against each other and to keep other countries from aggressing against us and to protect our liberties. That's the job of the government. That's why they're called government. Government is not education. Government is not healthcare. Government is not transportation. Government is not our retirement plan. It's none of those things. Government should limit itself to government. And if you want to have a free society, you can't have them take over every little piece of what's going on. So there is a knowledge gap for voters. Yeah, this was very apparent in the last election. here in Huntington Beach, California, we had Measure Z. And Measure Z was to repeal a very sneaky special property tax that was there to add supplemental funds to retirement accounts for public employees who already have massive retirement accounts compared to the private sector. So this was there saying we had to repeal this because we don't need to pad those accounts. And the morning it became legal to put up signs, there were thousands of signs put up all over Huntington Beach. Vote no on Z, no new taxes. Well, of course, Measure Z was nothing about new taxes, but the argument being that if this were repealed, then they'd have to think up a new tax to pad the pensions. Well, of course, the whole idea was to get rid of the tax, but that didn't matter, and voters overwhelmingly got rid of Measure, or said no to Measure Z, and the tax is in place. This is what you call low information voting. You see a sign, no to taxes. Oh, I don't want to do taxes. I'm going to vote no on that, without bothering to even read what it's about. This is what happens to a country when we don't pay attention. So I'm going to invite you to study, to take your civic responsibility seriously, because if we can't learn to study as a society about the economy, and if we can't learn to study about politics, I don't like politics, I don't like the economy, it's not interesting, I'd rather watch Netflix, then you shouldn't vote. Just don't vote. Do us a favor, don't vote. Seriously. If you don't know what's going on, don't show up. Don't show up. And we need to hold our politicians to their feet to the fire and say, listen, you need to provide us with what you're going to do. President Obama, you need to tell us why you think making the government bigger is going to help the economy. And of course, that's ludicrous. And every single detail he comes out with is wrong, not because he's a bad person, not because of some conspiracy, but because he believes that the public sector is the key to private sector growth, and of course, that's not true. So, anyways, I just want you to commit, if you would, to either being a high information voter or not voting. It's that simple. Tell your neighbors to do the same. Until next time, this is Life and Liberty Radio. Well, that's all for today on Life and Liberty Radio. Thanks so much for sharing this part of your spiritual journey with me. Now, the views on this program are not necessarily those of my advertisers, sponsors, places I work or do business with. They're purely my own, but I'm sharing them with you, so share your ideas with me. Write me on Twitter at Liberty House, LIBERTYHOUS, no E. Until next time, let's continue dreaming and working for a free and spiritually grounded society.